Now, I'm curious for each of you, though. I'd love to learn really quickly, like, how does your sacral response show up for you? Um, Only because different people, and there's a little bit more depth perhaps in the design, which may have the influence this. And I don't want to go kind of too much down the rabbit hole, but for you, how does your sacral response show up? Can you describe it? Like, I know for me, super quick, as a manjan, like my sacral, once I allowed it, was very chatty, is very vocal. And it's fun when I hear her and feel her. But I grew up in a household where you don't grunt, right? Grunting is like rude. Use your words, right? So to reconnect with that, it took a bit of time and some exercise. So I would love to know for you, like, is your sacral vocal? Is it a feeling, a sensation? Is it both? How does it show up? Because I really love to illustrate for people who, um, sometimes people have this belief that it only shows up one way, but I know from personal experience, it shows up so many nuanced ways, and they're all good, and they're all happy, and they're all correct. So, Heather, you want to tell us how your sacral response shows up?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm sitting here nodding, and I ended up muting myself because I have a very low, very guttural response, as well as I nod. But if something's feeling right, sorry, I have robins fighting outside my window right now. Yeah, it's just that, and it's emotional. Sometimes it comes out in tears because it'll pull up into the heart. I have an open G, so it's like, it's that just, oh, it's, yeah. And like you said, it's that beautiful flow, and that sacral is all about, I mean, if we look at from the chakra system, it's about that sexual energy and that sensuality and all of that. And it's that, yeah, it's that really, it feels yummy in a way. I don't know how else to explain it, but sometimes it'll be, and it'll be that real strong, but sometimes it's just that, ooh, this feels really nice. So I feel it different ways.
Nice and tingly. Woo!
It is. Yeah,
Exciting.
exactly.
Yes, and I do a lot of nodding, and yes, absolutely. Robin, what about for yourself?
It's so funny because the question is a non-sacral question. So I'm like, okay, yeah, how does it show up? So
Do you grunt? Do you say uh-huh?
good, thank you. Oh, um, yeah, I there is a there is a it's a humming kind of sound that comes with it, a deep, low humming Um, yeah, that's how it shows up. I'm curious because I'm looking at my chart as I'm thinking here and feeling into it, and my channel to my sacral is the 27 50,
2750?
50, yeah. It's a 2750, and there is a deep caring in my
Mm.
sacral response. It's a connecting sound. It's a movement towards kind of quality. Um, so yeah.
Mm. Oh, there we go. Uh, that's the relatability. Do you giggle sometimes, Robin? I don't know if that's.
I'm not a big giggler. I mean, I think there's a couple ways it shows up that there's that and then there's a way it shows up that is quiet, that's just a deep ka-chunk inside my body. Just like the whole universe aligns, and it's kind of a silence with the universe of recognition, like a stillness, like, yes, like, but a landing. There's a landing quality. Yeah, I see
Mhm.
Heather's acknowledging that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big when it happens like that. It's just like there's no question what to do. It's clear. It's done. It's done. That's the thing. Whatever it is,
Mhm.
it's done.
Yeah. And sometimes I hear that if there is a connection to the spleen, sometimes it could be the 3457, but for some people, the aha might just not be that vocal, or like you said, it's really much more an assured sensation, and a vocalization may or may not show up, or something like that.
Yeah,
Does
I'm
that
really
sound
glad
like
you
something
said
for you?
that, because it feels like it's connected to my intuition. It feels
Mhm.
grounded in my intuition. My sacral is, they're intimately connected.
Mhm.
So it's interesting to hear the difference, how it might be different for different people.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Alexander, how does yours show up? Or do you want me to yes and no this one? Give you a yes or no question.
It doesn't. Well, we could try it. Yeah, no, let's do an experiment. Yeah, why not? Yes and no.
Mm. Are you in tune with your sacral?
Mm-hmm.
Do you love bananas?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Do you have bananas with you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you wearing earphones?
Mm-hmm. Weird.
Interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
wearing, though they're not earphones, they're
Got it.
headphones. So whatever.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. It might
My
how you
sacral
relate
knows better.
to that. So you do express. Uh-huh. You do
Mm-hmm.
express. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a physical sensation that shows up?
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'll just tell you.
Totally.
It's kind of like I wrote down a few things that everybody has talked about, but it's like a tension, almost like kind of like Robin was saying, it's like a sexual, like, what's the word? Like a building of anticipation. You know what I mean? It's just like, I gotta do it. And I kind of have that feeling when it's really a sacral yes. Smiling too, that's a big one for me too, a big sign. And kind of like, I think you were saying, like that, maybe Robin was saying, like that shoulder, like chest expansion. It's just like, you're just open to it. But I do lots of like neck action and just kind of like moving towards something, if it's like I'm literally like pulled by it. So those are some things that I've noticed for mine.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because for some people it could literally be that magnetic pull, like you moving into something, or
Mm-hmm.
as a no, it's like moving away from, like, ooh, right? Like stepping back, going, like just walking away.
Like very primitive in nature, I think it can be.
Mm-hmm.
One to allow it, of course.
Yep. And I've had some people mention, they feel a rising in their abdomen, right? In their sort of gut area when it's a yes, like woo, right? And then a ooh, sinking feeling when it's a no. So that, there could always be a combination. But I think it's so valid for generators, particularly ones that are early on their path, their human design, experiment and their discovery, to really grasp that there is no one way, like one specific defined way, that their sacral is going to speak to them or communicate with them or communicate with the world. So I'm very glad that you've all had an opportunity to share some of the different aspects of that. I have another little one to add that I have come across, which, as I mentioned, the question about the giggle. When I come across something that I realize my sacral recognizes as like a real truth, I giggle. Like it's almost like there's a recognition, and my sacral is like, oh yeah, there it is. I know it now, right? And it's like this weird connection, and I find it so interesting that I never expected a giggle to be a sacral response, like an involuntary giggle about something. And that's also been part of the experiment, to go, wow, there's so much richness with the sacral motor and the sacral response. And back to what you were talking about, Alexander, is the joy of the playfulness and playing with you know, the sacral response and exploring and seeing how that shows up and giving yourself permission. So awesome. Awesome. I'm very excited. I love these conversations.